Discord bot tutorial on this channel. What is this, 2019? The world of Discord bots has changed considerably in the last few years and has been pretty inconsistent, pretty changeable for a long time, but it's now stabilized very recently, and I feel like it's a good time to make another video about it. Especially since the library that I use for Discord bot development has recently announced that it's gone stable. This video is going to be somewhat of a crash course in Discord bot development. We're going to be covering a lot of areas, so we're going to be talking about how to create your bot's account, how to actually get the bot up and running, and we're also going to be talking about how to host the bot. We're going to be using a service called Hostinger for that. Now, there is an awful lot to cover here, so let's just go straight into it, shall we? To actually create a bot, you need to come to the Discord developer portal. You can use this URL up here. I'll also put it in the description just so it's easy to get to. Make sure you're on the Applications tab, and then you can click New Application over here. Give it a name. I'm going to call mine Carbohydrate because I am very original. Click Create, and it will give you an application. If you come over here to the left, you'll see bot, and you'll notice that it also gives you a bot. So you could change your bot's username. I don't think this has to be the same as the application name. You can change the icon and the banner if you want. We're not going to do that here. You might want to come down here and look at privileged gateway intents. You don't need to worry about these fully until your bot is on 100 or more servers, so I'm not really going to talk about these. But you probably want to turn them on. But make sure you do come back and learn about these once your bot hits that limit. You want it to be a public bot for now. And then you actually want to get a token. And to do that, you hit this reset token button. Yes, do it. And you'll want to do this every time you accidentally leak a token. So I'm intentionally leaking this token. I will reset it before this video goes out. But this is the only time you see it. So you want to copy it. And then we actually want to come into our editor very quickly, and we want to put it in a .env file with this format. And we'll talk about what this .env file does in a bit, but I just want to put that in there for now, so it's there. We then come back to add it to our server. We then go to the installation tab over here. We deselect user install because we want to do it as a guild install. We have Discord provided link, and we want to select the scopes to bot. We want to select the permissions down here as well. I'm just going to set mine as administrator, though you will select the permissions you want the bot to have. Hit save changes. Click copy. And then we put that in the browser. From there, you just need to add it to your server. So when this eventually loads, there we go. I will add it to tutorial video, which is a server I created specifically for this. Click continue. Click authorize. Make sure the actual things are correct. Once that's finalized, you'll get this success screen, and then you can come over to Discord, and we'll see if you go into general. This is all my testing. We have the bot joined, and if I go back into video, the bot is over here as well. Again, this is a test bot that I was using to make sure that everything worked. So now that's all we need to do on the Discord developer portal. So we're going to go over to our code editor, and we're going to install the libraries that we need to install. So we are going to be using a library called Hikari, and Hikari, I'm using Hikari over Discord.py because I prefer the syntax, and also it's a bit more extendable and customizable. It's designed to be a fairly low level wrapper around the Discord API, and then you can have different extension libraries, or I'm not really sure what they're called. But you can install different libraries to do different things. So you can choose your command handler, for example. So there's actually multiple ways of creating commands. So if you don't like a particular part, you could just uninstall that part and then reinstall something else. There's also other libraries such as advanced handling of components. We're not going to talk about that in this video, but that's something you can do. You can also install it with speedups as well. I might be wrong about this, but I think speedups only works if you're on macOS or Linux. If I'm wrong about that, do correct me in the comments, but I believe that's true. We are then going to install our command handler, and in this case, I'm going to use Crescent because the syntax, I just prefer it over the others. We then also want to install python.env, which will allow us to read the .env file up here and be able to load that properly. And then we also want to install UV loop as well. This is optional, and this definitely does not work on Windows. This is a slightly faster, it might be more than slightly faster, implementation of async.io. And we can set async.io to use UV loop, and it'll be quicker. But again, it's completely optional. So if we install those, I've already got them installed. I believe we are using, oh, it would help if I actually passed it in. We're using Hikari 2.1 and Hikari Crescent 1.1. So we are only going to be creating a simple bot today, but I do want to show off a directory structure for how you could create a more complex bot, or at the very least how you can keep it all organized. So we're actually going to create a folder, not a file. We're going to create a folder called carbohydrate. This will be just the name of your bot. And then inside that, we are going to do a dunder init.py. And here we're going to do import.env and then just .env.load.env. And this essentially just loads everything in our .env file into the environment variables. So that's where this .env file comes in. So if you have any other sensitive information, so any other API keys that you're connected to, you'd want to put them in here. You could also put settings in here as well and have them loaded in. And that's just a really nice way to keep things separate. If you do upload your bot to GitHub, remember to not check out or not check in this file here. You don't want this file on the repository. Just keep that in mind. We are then also going to create a dunder main file. And this will be the file that actually runs the bot. And I'll show off how to do that in a second. So if we do import OS, and then we do import Crescent and Hikari, and we want to actually create a bot. So Hikari.gatewayBot, and then we want to do os.environ token. So this is our Discord bot token. And we want to do intents equals Hikari.intents.all. You only want to do that if you selected all the intents previously. There are other options if you didn't do that. You then also want to create a client, which will be the Crescent.client. And this wraps around the bot and provides the command handler. From there, you can do if name equals main, and if os.name does not equal nt. So if we're not running this on Windows, we want to import async IO, not like that, and UV loop. And then we want to set async IO.set event loop policy UV loop.event loop policy. And this is the optional step. You don't have to do this at all, but it's just used as a slightly faster async IO event loop. Or maybe more than slightly faster. Again, I don't know. And then we're going to just do a bot.run on this. To actually run the bot in this configuration, what you'd want to do is you want to be in the root directory, and you want to call Python with the module carbohydrate. So this -m allows you to run a module directly, and this will call the module name /dundermain.py. So this is actually our run file. If you run that, we will get a number of log messages. It's not rendered quite correctly because I've got this very zoomed in, but you get this. Normally, let me zoom out a bit, and that might, there we go. You get this nice little colorful banner and some information. We're actually getting a warning saying that we haven't run this with optimization flags. I'll talk about that real quick, but we get a lot of logins saying everything's fine. So if I zoom that back in, whoops, I didn't want to do that. We could actually run this with optimization flags using -o or -00. I made a short talking about this a little bit. I'm not going to talk about in too much detail what that does. It's just a Python flag. I recommend going and looking it up. But it does help speed ever so slightly. You definitely want to be running it in production, I would say. So now we've done that, we can create our first command. And to do that, we simply just do @client.include, and this is a decorator that will include whatever we put under it into our client. We then want to create a crescent.command, and we can set the description to be pong because our command is going to be a ping command. CTX crescent.content, and that is going to return none because it is simply just going to await ctx.respond pong, like that. So a few things to talk about. This is a command registering. It's a simple command, so we can register it as a function. Typically Crescent use classes, but we'll create another function with it. We get passed in a context, and this context has a lot of different things attached to it, including all sorts of information about the state of Discord at the time. I believe it has the author of the message in there as well. But it also has this respond function, which just sends a message back to the channel the command was invoked. So you don't actually need to know the channel. You just need to know to respond to it. This just takes a string like that. If you were to then run this bot, and if we were to go back to Discord, all the way back, here we go, and then we were to run ping like that, it also creates / commands. We get pong back. And that's because we have used the command and we've responded to the context. So that is more of a simple command. You'd only really want to do this if your command doesn't take any options, because there is a different syntax for commands that I'm going to show. I'm also going to show it in the context of plugins. So plugins are how you can organize commands into a more structured interface. So you don't have to put every single command in this file and watch it grow to 1 million lines long. You can have them in plugins. So you can organize and structure your bot and make it a lot more maintainable. To do that, we will want to do client.plugins.load folder. And this will be carbohydrate.plugins. And we are going to create a directory here called plugins. So this load folder will load everything within this directory and then inside this directory. And in here, we are going to create a plugin called dice for a simple dice command. If I just bring it up on my notes, there we go. So for this, we want to import random, Hikari, I can spell, and then crescent. And we want to create a plugin to be crescent.plugin. And then we actually do, if we're doing static typing, then we do want to pass the bot instance here and then none here. We don't need to worry too much about that at this stage. But if you want type safety, you'll need to do this. So we have plugin dot command, include, not command, and then crescent dot command. So this will include it in the plugin, and then we have our actual command definition. We're going to set this name equals role, and a description equals just role. We're actually going to make it a bit more complicated than just rolling one dice. And then we're going to create this as a class instead. And the good thing about this is that you can define objects, you could define input parameters to the command as class attributes. And then you could just define a callback, which serves as the logic. So we want to create an option to change the number of dice that we roll. And we can do that using crescent.option. And we want that to be a number, so we want it to be an integer. Description, number of dice to roll, that looks fine to me. We want the min value to be 1, and we'll say the max value is 20. That seems like a good max to me. We then want to change the number of sides that each dice can have. So again, we can do crescent.option. And this is going to be another integer. Number of sides. Each die will have, there we go. We'll say min value is 1, max value is 100. We can actually set a default here to be 6. So this is now an optional argument because it has a default. We don't need to provide this when calling the command. And then we can have a bonus, which I'm just going to copy paste from my notes, which is just a fixed number to add to the roll, which again is optional because it has a default of 100. To actually define the logic for this command, we need to do an async def callback, which also takes the same context as before and returns none. And then I'm actually going to copy paste this logic and run through it, because this is just Python logic now. So we get dice between 1 and the number of sides, and then we roll that many dice basically. And then we respond with a message with admittedly quite a complicated format. But this essentially is all just Python stuff. We use the ctx.respond once again to respond to the message. If we then turn that down and then we run it again and go back to Discord, if we then do /roll, and we can set the number to be, 10, and we just do that and it rolls 10 dice. If we set the number to be 3, and then we can access these other options. So sides, we want to do 20. And then say the bonus we want to be 5. We can do all that as well. And it's now rolled 3 20-sided dice and added 5 as a bonus. One quick tip when creating commands like this, sometimes Discord can be really annoying and not actually register the command. If that happens, just press Control R to reload Discord, and then it should load at this point. You can check what applications, also you can check what commands are currently active by using this menu down here and then clicking on your application here and then seeing this. And you can actually send these things. Let me do it in the pings as a better example. You can actually send the commands through that message or through that interface as well. And we haven't done an awful lot here today, but as you continue to develop your bot and as it gets close to being done, your mind might start to think about how to host the bot itself, especially on a 24/7 basis. And this is where VPSs come in really handy. They're much more convenient than hosting on your own computer because you don't have to leave it on 24/7. And they are literally just a computer somewhere out there in the world. You could stick a bot on it and just leave it. And you can continue to update it as you can access it into it, etc., etc. And the service that I'm going to be showing you today is one called Hostinger. So to start with Hostinger, you just move over. Well, you go into I have to move over. You have to go onto their website. And then we come up here to where it says hosting and then VPS hosting. And if we scroll down, actually, we get to the VPS hosting plans. For Discord bots, you only really need like KVM1 or KVM2, and it depends exactly what you need. So if you're only hosting one bot for your own server and nothing else, then you're not going to need anything more than KVM1. But if you plan to put your bots on, say, Discord bots, and it scales up massively, the resource usage could scale like crazy. And if you're planning to do multiple bots as well, you can stick them all on the same VPS, and then you'd need more resources for them as well. And you may be tempted by something close to the KVM2, which is what I'm going to be using. So I will choose it here. And that takes us to an information page where we select the duration. Let me just zoom in a little bit. There we go. So we could choose a period between 1 month, 12 months, and 24 months. The longer you choose, the more money you save. So in this particular instance, you can see that we're actually saving about 60% here by selecting 12 months. And if we select 1 month, we're selecting significantly less, or we're saving significantly less. Or we're not saving anything at all, actually. You get 12 months in the middle. So 24 months, for the best deal, you want to go with that one. You can also use code CARBERA, all caps, to save a little bit extra on top of that. So that will put, that will save another 4%, and you'll save just a little bit more across the whole billing period. And now we're saving almost 2/3 of the price, which is pretty crazy. So do make sure to use that coupon code at checkout. There's also a link in the description that you can click, and I believe it will auto apply that coupon. After you've done this, you'll be prompted to create an account and then pay for the VPS. After you've done all that, you'll then have access to the H panel, which is where you actually control all these things. You can get to it from the main page by clicking the login button in the top right. And you'll have something like this sitting here waiting for you. So you can see I have pending setup KVM2 VPS. So I'm going to hit setup. And then we can go through the flow, setting it up to our specifications. So we want to select a location. It chooses the location with the best latency. Then you can choose whatever location you want. I've just got France selected, so we're going to go with that. Hit continue, and then we select an operating system. You have quite a few operating systems to choose from. If you don't know which one is best for you, I'd recommend just going with Debian. It's lightweight, it's not that difficult to use, and it's all designed to be very stable. So I'm going to hit select on Debian, or whichever one you want. We can install this additional features of VPS if we want. It's free, so might as well. After that, you'll be prompted to create a root password and an SSH key for your VPS. You can create a root password using the password generator down here. So I'm just going to generate a password like that. And then to create an SSH key, you hit add a SSH key and you get these instructions, which actually walk through it quite nicely. So I'm just going to do this off camera real quick. Okay, so now I've done all that, I'm going to hit continue. And then we just have a review of the setup before we go. That all looks fine, so we can hit finish setup. And from there, you'll get this screen. It says it will take about 10 minutes to set it up. I've noticed it takes actually quite a bit less time than that. I think maybe they just say 10 for the more advanced setups maybe. But in a few minutes, this will all be done. This page will update. You'll get an email and everything. But I will cut to when it's all set up and ready to use. So we're back in VS Code. As you can see, I actually have a connection to the VPS active at the moment. I've already got an SSH'd in. I've also gone and installed a few packages. So I needed to install Git and Python, I think 3.11-venv, or I just used 3.11 anyway. But you can, install whatever you need to do your things. But we're going to do git clone https, and we're going to clone down a repository that contains a bot that I have already pre-prepared, TV chef style there. We're going to cd in, then we're going to create a virtual environment, and you don't have to do it this way if you don't want to. You can do it using Docker containers if you want. I'm just doing it like this because it's a bit simpler. And then I'm going to do source.slash.venv source no bin. We're not on Windows. Activate. There we go. Then I'm going to do pip install -r requirements.txt, and this requirements file just has all the requirements that I walked you over before. Then we actually need to get the .env from here onto our VPS. So one way we can do that is we can just do nano.env and then open this up and basically just copy paste this into here. Save that. So now our .env is on there. We needed to do that because the env is not checked into the repository, so it wouldn't have it otherwise. And now we can run the bot. So we could do python -oo-m carbohydrate. And we can see the bot running here. We get all the pretty colors. If we go over to Discord, then the carbohydrate bot and the test bot, I forget which one we're actually running here. But I think it's this one. The carbohydrate bot is running, and now we can do /ping. Ooh, can we? There we go. Nope. /ping. There we go. I just can't type, and we get a pong back. Special thank you to Hostinger for sponsoring this video. If you want to sign up and use their VPS services to host your bot, then make sure to use my link or my coupon code in the description below. Let me know in the comments what sort of bot you are planning to build. If you want to see other ways that Python is awesome more generally, then you can check out my Python is awesome playlist linked in the end screen, and I'll see you next time for whatever we do next.